Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Once and Future, issue number 25, from Boom Studios, written by Kieran Gillen, with artwork by Dan Mora, coloring by Tamara Bonvillain, and I'm pretty sure it's Ed Dukeshire on the lettering. Yes, Ed Dukeshire on the lettering. Once and Future has been an incredibly solid book since the first issue. And sometimes, and I've reviewed every single issue very positively, but sometimes it feels like it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. You know what I'm saying? It's a book that is good, it's a book that's consistently good, and sometimes that goes against it because it doesn't necessarily always stand out because it's always as consistently good as it is. And then you get issues sometimes like issue 25 where it delivers a little bit more oomph, where they introduce some new concepts or some new twists on some characters. That is one of these issues. It is amazing. If you haven't been reading Once and Future, it's got an adventurous sense of like an Indiana Jones movie, but it's using Arthurian lore. And Gillen, as a writer, is kind of playing with these common tropes, these common mythical stories and entities and worlds. And it's really interesting every time a new concept is introduced. Now we've got Robin Hood. And the way that Gillen explains in the story how Robin Hood is connected to this Arthurian legend and how ancient and old the story of Robin Hood actually is, because it goes further beyond than just Robin Hood. Great. Fantastic concepts, really great characters, and it is completely unified. This whole book, from top to bottom, just works in perfect unison to always deliver an outstanding comic book. The artwork is by Dan Mora, along with Tamara Bonvillain on the coloring. When those two work together in particular, you get some of the best comic book art out there. This book is amazing. If you've been sleeping on it, it's time to wake your ass up and read Once and Future, issue number 25. Pick of the week, let's jump over to DC. We got Flashpoint Beyond, issue number 1. So we had the Zero issue. That was mostly the setup for this issue, but that might as well have been called issue number 1. I don't know why they did that, because you need to read that to order understand this. But they also kind of do a good job of, once again, kind of refamiliarizing yourself with Thomas Wayne's version of Batman from the Flashpoint universe, how that goes, and then it starts moving that story forward very quickly. I like it. It's a detective story. It's a murder mystery. And it also has like this overarching mystery about the essence of the metaverse and hypertime and all that kind of stuff. In the ending, I'm like, what are you going to do there? I was a little bit worried because Jeff Johns is joined by Jeremy Adams and Tim Sheridan here as co-writers. And so I felt like it would be kind of, watered down Jeff Johns, but it wasn't. It was really cool, paced very well, the characters work, and it's nice just to go back into that world and have that mystery unfurl. I like that. That kind of rhymed. I didn't mean to do that. Batman is here with issue number 123. This is part 5 of Shadow War. No Prometheus in the issue, but the cover's dope. I like the artwork from Howard Porter. At times it feels a bit frantic, a bit rushed, a bit loose, jagged, edgy because of it. But I really like that. I think it's got this kind of a frantic grit to it that I think is very exciting for a Batman book that's in this kind of a story, right? You're getting some great character work by Joshua Williamson too. Damian and Bruce have reunited for the first time in a long time. Bruce doesn't know anything about the Lazarus Tournament or Damian's new girlfriend or Deathstroke's new son, who is Damian's little half-brother. What? There's a lot of revelations in this book, but I'm having a lot of fun. It's got a really breakneck pace, and it just moves. It's just like, move. I absolutely love it. Batman 123, I've been digging it. Batman Killing Time, issue number 3. I was done with this series. It's an incredibly light week. I was very light on DC. My buddy told me, hey, Batman Killing Time, I didn't like 1 and 2 either, but I liked 3. 3 is better. It introduces this new character called The Help that I thought was freaking awesome. I really liked that character. The story becomes a bit more clear. You find out what the object is that Catwoman and Riddler stole from Bruce's vault or whatever. And it's weird. It could be its own thing. But once again, just structures all over the place. That would be okay. Like the way it's jumping back and forth would be okay. But the overuse of narration clearly showing, like telling us what we can clearly see, it's just a bit too much on that. But story-wise, concept-wise, it does strengthen a little bit Batman Killing Time, but I don't know if that's enough for me. One Star Squadron is here with issue number 6. This is the final issue of what's been a very bittersweet, satirical kind of look at employment and office culture in using the superhero world. So you got Red Tornado's part of, what is it, Heroes for You, which is an app. If you need a hero to come and deliver a speech or help move some trees or just any kind of menial task, like, there you go. So he was running it, and just the office politics and all this kind of stuff. But it was really funny, but it has this sad, tragic nuance at the heart of it, and they spend the final issue just kind of delivering that. So Steve Lieber's artwork has been fantastic throughout, and Mark Russell's done a really great job here. If you know Mark Russell, you know what you're going to get with these kind of books, and I thoroughly enjoyed One Star Squadron. Also, Free Comic Book Day is coming up on Saturday. I wanted to go ahead and read some of the bigger ones to let you know ahead of time what I thought about them. Dark Crisis Special Edition. This just kind of is like, so it's a Wally West little story reflecting on the death of the Justice League and the hole that fills. Then it has like this whole like history of the multiverse and this lead-in, like a preview of Dark Crisis. So if you're geared up for Dark Crisis, if Death of Justice League intrigued you, but if you've been following that thread, if you want to know more, all of it, including the checklist for the whole series, is right here. And I thought that was pretty cool. From Marvel, we got Spider-Man 2099, Exodus number 1. This is kicking off a new miniseries, Returning to the World of Miguel O'Hara and Spider-Man 2099. And it's got Ghost Rider 2099. I thought that was cool. We're going to be introduced to a Winter Soldier 2099 in here. What is it about? I can't tell you, because I read this book, and when it was done, I was like, I have no idea what just happened in that book. Spider-Man was there. There was a building. Somehow it gets destroyed. Ghost Rider shows up. I have no idea. This had no connection to me narratively whatsoever. Has some decent artwork at times, though the coloring was a bit off for me, so I didn't really like this one. Just gonna say. Giant Size X-Men Thunderbird. For the most part, I stay away from X-Men books, but Thunderbird's gonna be featured in X-Men Red, and I really liked X-Men Red number 1, and I like the character of Thunderbird, or I should say I like the idea of the character of Thunderbird, because he was always the X-Men that was just known for dying. He like died, what was it, 94, 95? One of those issues of X-Men. It was like one of the first X-Men to die, right? And now that death doesn't really exist for mutants, they bring him back. And I was excited to see where they go with this. It starts off pretty interesting, and then it just kind of loses me. I feel like it's kind of falters a little bit under the weight of the theme that it's going for. That could have been a little bit more, maybe subtle's the wrong word, but handled a little bit differently. That probably would have helped to have a more exciting story, but it was all right. But like I said, there's a lot of promise here, but the execution, it was just okay. Then we got Star Wars Obi-Wan. May the 4th be with you. I obligated to say that. But it's appropriate that I'm talking about a Star Wars book. You know I don't really read Star Wars books. I fall out of them pretty quickly. But Obi-Wan, a brand new number 1, Chris Cantwell. It's all right. I was really looking forward to this. I love the cover. There's this other cover of Old Man Obi-Wan, which is actually just regular Obi-Wan. Because technically, I can't remember his name. I almost say Ian McKellen. What's this dude's name? Why can I not think of his name from Trainspotting? You gotta be kidding me. McGregor? Ewan McGregor. What? There's nobody over there. I'm just like looking for excuses and I can't find any. Anyway, Star Wars Obi-Wan. It's all right. It's all right. Anyway, Ewan McGregor's young man, Obi-Wan. Technically. Middle-aged Obi-Wan. Anyway, Obi-Wan number 1, it's okay. I guess this is going to be him. He's at Tatooine. There's a big sandstorm. So he goes inside to like write in his journal and reflect on his life. And so he's telling you different stories, and I guess that's what each issue is going to be, a different story from a different point of his life. So if you wanted to know about one rambunctious night Obi-Wan had when he was a youngling at the Jedi Training Temple Academy at Coruscant or whatever, that's for you. So there you go. Ben Reilly Spider-Man is here with issue number 4. It's been revealed what the big villain is in the last issue. I still won't spoil it, especially though I'll tell you this. If you are a fan of that Ben Reilly era of Spider-Man Clone Saga stuff, if you do have a tinge of nostalgia in your heart like I do for that, you might really like this book. I'm having fun with it. J.M. DeMatteis knows how to do these kind of comic books that are a bit compressed but have a lot happen at the same time. They have a lot of action. The artwork is a bit new school, but it actually works so well with that old school approach through the writing, but a new school approach with the art, and it blends perfectly well. I'm really digging this book. There's only one more left, I think. Yes, only one more left, but if you're a Ben Reilly fan, there you go. Because what they're doing to Ben Reilly right now in Spider-Man, it hurts. I shouldn't even reminded myself of that. Maestro is here. World War M, issue number 3. Peter David. This is the third act of his big Maestro trilogy that he's done. Kind of just building up this whole story of the Maestro a lot more than what we've just seen in Future Imperfect and things like that. And I've really loved the series overall. We got Peralta. I think it's Herman Peralta here on the artwork. Freaking love it. Yeah, Herman Peralta. I love the artwork in this book. The paper quality is still really bad, but not as bad as the last issue, which was really, really bad. But all the pieces are coming together. Namor, Doom, Abomination, and other allies are teaming up to try to figure out how to take out the Maestro. This was a big issue that kind of like, this is the settling in-between issue. This is like a 5 or 6 issue series. So issue number 3 is going to be that like little bit of a lull, the calm in the eye of the storm. But it builds back up at the end real quick. So I like that a lot. Marvel for Free Comic Book Day this week will have Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day, Axe, Judgment Day, which I swear was a fragrance from like 1998, 2001, something like that. Judgment Day, this is the start of the big crossover for the year, which is Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals. So we've had Avengers versus X-Men a couple times. So now it's time to have Avengers versus X-Men versus Eternals, and this sets up the whole gist of why it's going on, and it wasn't really a badly written comic. It was okay. Then there's a book in here that's teasing an upcoming Blade-ish book, and I'm a big Blade fan. In fact, I got a 3 to 5 year plan for Blade. Like, if I ever got a hold of the property that, you know, I don't know if Marvel somehow was ever like, yo, Robbie, you want to write Blade? I got an idea. You know what I'm saying? But so there's a Blade-centric book coming out in like September or something. There's a tease of this, and I was not excited about it. I just was not excited. I was like, I don't know, I just wasn't excited. And what's the last bit? Oh, the last bit is a tease to a book coming out. No, that was in the, no, that's another one. I'm getting myself confused here. The last bit, yeah, the last bit is this story that's teasing something into the Hellfire Gala. Yeah, I remember that now. I guess if you're keeping up with X-Men, that's a pretty big deal. Then we got Spider-Man Venom Free Comic Book Day. It's got a Spider-Man story by Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. that reveals the duo of villains who are going to be the main threat in Spider-Man going forward, and it also introduces a new iteration of a familiar yet unfamiliar character, I should say, in the Venom bit, which is pretty good. There was some good stuff there. Art was all right, but there you go. And then the last one, there is a story. Yes, it's teasing an Avengers book. It doesn't say who the writer is, I don't think, but the artwork is done by Greg Land. It's called Out Avengers. So it was all right. It was all right. From Image Comics, we've got Twig Number One. It's a new one from Scotty Young. The artwork is done by Kyle Strom, Jean-Francois Boulot on the coloring. I thought that the artwork was really great. It's bright. It's cute. It's like a little questy fantasy type thing. Twig is this little creature and has to go into this mountain, find this jewel, take it to somebody. His father had the same kind of job or whatever. But the storytelling and the art was really, really cool. The story didn't super grab me or anything like that, but it was cute and it was filled with charm and it has some really good artwork. So slim pickings this week. This is probably going to be on a lot of people's radar. So Twig Number One, it was a solid start. Metal Society is a new one from Top Cow / Image. Zach Kaplan, Guilherme Balai, Marco Lesko, and Troy Piteri. Sorry if I butchered any names there. Metal Society was really cool. I like Zach Kaplan's work, but this one kind of really took me by surprise. First of all, it's from Top Cow, so it's got to have some banging art, and it does. The artwork is really good in this book, and it's got Zach Kaplan concepts and writing, so it's got to have some cool concepts, and it does. So this is a world in which humanity has gone extinct, but artificial intelligence and robots have evolved, and they now run the show. And then just to prove how awesome they are, they decide to clone humans, to, you know, or to bring them back. Like we always talk about bringing dinosaurs back. They get human DNA and they bring humanity back. So there's like just a little bit of humans. They do the jobs. The robots don't want to. But there's this movement about human rights coming up in this robotic civilization, and to kind of have like this, they encapsulate it all into a fight. So this one woman versus this one robot, and they're supposed to have a fight to see who's better, robots or humans, right? This sounds ridiculous, but it's actually well done. And in this first issue, it breaks out of that, sets it all up, breaks away from that, and we get this main character's whole story, and the pace of it was really good. It was incredibly engaging and compelling, and I want to know more about this world. I want to know more about this character. I want to know more about this fight. I thought this was great. Metal Society, #1. Definitely don't sleep on that. Then we got Frontiersman, the Lockup Special. This is a $6 comic book, but if you're reading Frontiersman, I would highly encourage you to read this. You could read this without having read the first, 5 or 6 issues of Frontiersman. There's a trade out, so there's no excuse, because it's been a pretty cool, interesting book. Kind of playing with their own superhero world. Think like Astro City, but a little bit more in today. Not so classic, but I'm really liking this world. In the end of the last arc of Frontiersman, which was the first arc, the main character gets arrested for murder. So now he's in jail, and there's this character who comes to break him out of jail who can like phase, and when he touches people, he like phases people, and something happens and everybody just starts phasing. So prisoners just start like running away and stuff. It's really cool. It's got a nice thread of story. It's got some excitement. It's got some intrigue. It's got good characterization. I really like Frontiersman. And it's a book that, it's a good book. It's a good book. I used to say it's a book I'm ready to drop. But no, I really like this book, and I enjoy it. So Frontiersman, the Lockup Special, definitely worth it. Then we have Little Monsters, issue #3, from Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen, Steve Wands, Image Comics. Loved it. This book is amping up. We were a little critical of the first issue, that not a lot happened. They didn't really do much to hook us. And I think that's true. But in the end of issue #2, they had me hooked. Sorry about that. Forgot to clear out the memory card, but I was completely hooked by the end of issue #2. That would have made a really great first issue, was 1 and 2 combined. But now issue 3 is amping it up even further. I'm digging it. Lord of the Flies meets a vampire story. There's a lot of vampire stories right now, but this one, super solid. And even if you thought the first one was a bit thin on plot, they're really milking it out now. These characters, they are distinctive. They all have their own voice. They all have their own thing going on. But the narrative, the mystery is becoming more and more compelling to me as these 3 issues have progressed. And the artwork by Dustin Nguyen, I keep saying he's doing like digitized screen tone or something, but it's actually more like a digital form of like duo shade or something, because he's using it to kind of like paint with, right? So the use of value by Dustin Nguyen, along with his line work, absolutely top notch. I loved it. Little Monsters #3, getting better issue to issue, and that's a good thing. Then we got Firepower, issue #20. I love this book. I think this is my favorite Robert Kirkman book I've read. I feel like I can confidently say that 20 issues in, because 20 issues in, I'm liking this better than the first 20 issues of Invincible. No shade on that, because that's a good book. And I'm liking it better than the first 20 issues of Walking Dead. This is a good book that doesn't waste a lot of time. It does get right to the point. In fact, we already got a giant freaking dragon demolishing a city here. It's just been 20 issues in a graphic novel, but the story has kept continuing to amp up arc to arc, as well as the emotional resonance of the book. The characters, their voices ring very true. They seem like real, three-dimensional, fleshed out individuals, and the way that those relationship dynamics work, it works so freaking awesome. Chris Samney is a master at storytelling, especially when it comes to action scenes, big, expansive moments that need to feel big in scope and even moments that need to be a bit more smaller in scale. And then you add in Russ Wooten, fantastic lettering that helps really accentuate the pace. But then Matt Wilson, just going ham. Going ham. I used to say that Matt Wilson's best coloring work, in my opinion, was Wicked and the Divine, I just lost it, Russell Dodderman's Thor, when he's doing Thor for Russell Dodderman. But it might be Firepower, because there's something fantastic going on there. From Valiant, we have Archer and Armstrong Forever, issue number 1. I like the characters and concept of Archer and Armstrong. One of them is a drunk immortal. The other one is this like young acrobatic assassin who spent his whole life being prepared to murder this guy. And now they're like best friends. They're like the odd couple, right? So it's been a while since I've really read an Archer and Armstrong book, so I wanted to check this one out, and I rather enjoyed it. And I really feel like, and I have a passing familiarity with these characters, so I'm not an expert whatsoever. So even if you didn't know much about these characters and you wanted to, I think you can jump in here because they do a really great job of bringing you right up to speed and then going into the gist of the story, which is that, which one's what? Armstrong is Armstrong is immortal, but now he can be wounded and his wounds aren't healing, and he seems to just be accepting this as a natural part of his waning immortality. But Archer, this is his new buddy, and he ain't ready to let go of him, so he's got his own thing to do. But I liked it. I thought it had a nice, vibrant vibe to it. Vibrant vibe? Patent that. No, don't. Quest Aside, issue number 1. This is a new one from Vault Comics. This one didn't necessarily work for me. It wasn't in execution. It was a well-done comic. Everything was fine. The pace, the story, all that. It's about a bar in a D&D fantasy type world. And those that know me know that I'm not really the biggest fantasy guy, especially like the D&D swords and stuff like that kind of thing. It's all right? So if that's your cup of tea, if you're really into like D&D and things that are like that, I think you'll like this because you'll understand all the references, like that there's a bard there singing. Like I pick up on that, but it's not anything novel to me because it's just not my bag. But if you like RPGs, if you like D&D, if you like that kind of fantasy stuff, I think you'll like this because this is one of those bars where people go to put their quests aside and just go have a good time, and you get to know the characters there. Plus there's this whole conflict that's starting to brew in this issue. So it was executed fine. It was decent. It just didn't capture me because the subject material is just not something I'm super into. Then we have Dogs of London, issue number 1 from Aftershock. This is by Peter Milligan and Artesita on the artwork. The artwork's fine. It's decent. So it's kind of like, it's a mafia gangster story in London or in England somewhere, right? And you're following this one dude, and it's just your typical Goodfellas, Godfather, Sopranos kind of thing. And then it's like they have to kill somebody and bury them or something, so there's a framing device about that. Then it skips to the future, and the main character's like older now, and it kind of jumped around, and it feels like maybe if there's a supernatural tinge to it. I don't know. I don't really want to spoil the twist, but it's all right. Yeah, I really like Peter Milligan. Maybe not my favorite thing recently that I've read from him, but it was intriguing enough that if issue 2 comes up on a lighter week, I may check it out to see where this story is going to develop. But if you like mafia, mobster stories, that kind of thing, maybe even with a little bit of a supernatural twist, maybe you should check it out. So that one was all right. Quest Aside is perfect for D&D fans out there. Archer and Armstrong, this is a good time to jump in if you want to. Firepower, Little Monsters Remains. Frontiersman fans, don't sleep on that book. Metal Society. That was a really cool book. Twig is going to be one of the more popular ones of the week. Don't forget about Free Comic Book Day this week. Thunderbird, skip it. Obi-Wan, only for the most hardcore Obi-Wan fans. Ben Reilly, Spider-Man, Maestro, love those throwbacks to old school type stuff. Batman Killing Time, reading this book is killing my time and I don't like it. Like I said, don't forget about Free Comic Book Day. $20.99 is not doing fine. Flashpoint Beyond is strong and once in future still proves it's one of the best books on shelf. So that's what I read. That's what I thought. That's what I was digging. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Station. Pop, pop, boom.